Jai Sri Krishna. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, the passing away of Bhīṣmadeva in the presence of Lord Sri Krishna. Here in the verse 27, it was mentioned that Bhīṣmadeva then explained to Maharaj Yudhishthira that by divisions, act of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of a woman and a devotees, both briefly and extensively. So here it is mentioned Dana Dharmam Rajo Dharmam Moksha Dharman Bhivagasah Stri Dharman Bhagavat Dharman Samasa Bhasya Yogatah. So here the purpose is to give charity is one of the householder's main functions, and he should be prepared to give in charity at least 50% of his hard-earned money. A brahmachari or student should perform sacrifice, a householder should give charity, and a person in the retired life or in the renounced order should practice penance and austerities. Those are the general function of all the ashramas or order of life on the path of self-realization. It is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavad Gita by Lord Sri Krishna. In the brahmachari life, the training is sufficiently imparted so that one may understand that the world of as a property belongs to the Supreme Lord, the personality of a Godhead. No one, therefore, can claim to be the proprietor of anything in the world. Therefore, in the life of a householders, which is a sort of license for sex enjoyment, one must give in charity for the service of the Lord. Everyone energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant action of such energy must be given to the Lord in the shape of a transcendental loving service for Him. As the rivers draw water from the sea through the clouds and again go down to the sea. Similarly, our energy is borrowed from the Supreme Source, the Lord's energy, and it must return to the Lord. That is the perfection of our energy. The Lord, therefore, in the Bhagavad Gita 9.27 says that whatsoever we do, whatever we undergo as penance, whatever we sacrifice, whatever we eat, or whatever we give in charity must be offered to Him, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the way of utilizing your borrowed energy. When our energy is utilized in that way, our energy is purified from the contamination of material inebrities or impurities, and thus we become fit for our original natural life of service to the Lord. Raja Dharma is a great science, unlike modern diplomacy for political supremacy. The kings we are trained systematically to become magnific- munificent and not merely be tax collectors. They were trained to perform different sacrifices only for the prosperity of the subjects. To lead the projas to the attainment of salvation was a great duty of the king. The father, the spiritual master, and the king are not to be become irresponsible in the matter of leading their subject to the path of ultimate liberation from birth, death, disease, and old age. When these primary duties are properly discharged, there is no need of a government of the people by the people. In modern days, the people in general occupy the administration by the strength of manipulated votes, but they are never trained in the primary duties of the king. And that is also not possible for everyone. Under the circumstances, the untrained administrators play havoc to make the subject happy in all respects. On the other hand, these untrained administrators gradually becomes rough and thieves and increase the taxation to finance a top heavy administration that is useless for all purpose. Actually, the qualified brahmanas are meant to give direction to the kings for proper administration in terms of the scriptures like the Manu Samhita and the Dharma Shastra of Parasara. A typical king is the ideal of the people in general, and if the king is pious, religious, chivalrous, and munificent, the citizen generally follow him. Such a king is not a lazy, sensuous person living at the cost of the subjects, but alert way to kill thieves and dacoits. The pious king we are not merciful to dacoits and thieves in the name of nonsensical ahimsa, no non-violence. The thief and the dacoits we are punished in an exemplary way so that in the future no one would dare commit such a innocence in an organized form. Such thieves and dacoits were never meant for administration as they are now. The taxation law was simple. There was no force, no encroachment. The king had a right to take one fourth of the production made by the subject. The king had a right to claim a fourth of one allotted wealth. One would never grudge parting with it because due to the pure king and religious harmony there was enough natural wealth, namely grain, fruits, flowers, silk, cotton, milk, jewels, minerals, etc. And therefore no one was materially unhappy. The citizens were rich in agriculture and animals husbandry, and therefore they had enough grains, fruits, and milk without any artificial needs of soap and toilets, cinemas, and bars. The king had to see that the reserved energy of humanity was properly utilized. Human energy is meant not exactly for a fulfilled animal propensity, but for self-realization. The whole government was specifically designed to fulfill this particular purpose. Such, the king had to select properly the cabinet minister, but not on the strength of a voting ground. The minister, the military commanders, and even the ordinary soldiers were all selected by personal qualification, and the king had to supervise them properly before they were appointed to their respective posts. The king was especially vigilant to see the tapaswi or the person who sacrifice everything for a disseminating spiritual knowledge. We are never disregarded. The king knew well that the supreme personality of God had never tolerated any insult to his unalloyed devotee. Such Tapasi was a trusted leader for even of the rock and thieves who would never disobey the order of autopsy. The king would give special protection to illiterates, the helpless, and the widows of the street. Defense measures were arranged previously to any attacked by the enemy. The taxing process was easy and it was not meant for surrendering but was for the strengthening the reserve fund. The soldiers were recruited from all parts of the world and they were trained for special duties. As far as salvation is concerned, one has to conquer the principle of lust and unlawful desire, avarice, and bewilderment. To get free from anger, and one should learn how to forgive. To be free from unlawful desire, one should not make plans. By spiritual cultures, one is able to conquer self, sleep. B- by tolerance, only can one conquer desire and avarice. Rise. Disturbance from various diseases can be avoided by regulated diets. By self-control, one can be free from false hope, and money can be saved by avoiding undesirable association. By by practice of yoga, one can control hunger and be worldliness can be avoided by culturing the knowledge of impermanence. Dizziness can be conquered by rising up, and false argument can be conquered by factual ascertainment. Talkativeness can be avoided by gravity and science, silence, and by powerlessness one can avoid fearfulness. Perfect knowledge can be obtained by self cultivation. One must be free from lust, avarice, anger, dreaming, etc., to actually attain the path of salvation. As a as as far as women class are concerned, they were accepted as a power inspiration of for man. As as such, women are more powerful than man. Mighty Julius Caesar was controlled by Cleopatra. Such powerful women are controlled by shyness. Therefore, shyness is important for women. Once this control valve is loosened, women can create havoc in society by adultery. Adultery means production of unwanted child known as Sankara who disturb the world. The last item taught by Bhīṣmadeva was the process of pleasing Lord. We are all eternal servant of the Lord, and when we forget this essential part of our nature, we are put into material condition of life. This the simple process of pleasing Lord for thousand and for the householder especially is to install the deities of the Lord at home by concentrating on the deity. One may progressively go on with the daily routine work, worshipping the deity at home, serving the devotee, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, residing in a holy place, and chanting the holy name of Lord Sri Krishna are all inexpensive item by which one can please the Lord. Thus, the subject matter was explained by the grandfather to this to his children. So, here Bhishmadeva is advising advice to Maharaj Yudhishthira that how a perfect king will be, and this verse is dedicated on that. Jai Jagannath, Jai Sri Krishna.